Hello, welcome to the Ignite Your Leadership Prowess podcast. I'm Mutita Deboali, your host as usual. And today with me, I've got an amazing guest. I've got Christelle Soto Suarez, the Self-Leadership Awakener. Fantastic. I'm sure and so delighted that you would want to know what Christelle will be telling us today on the program. I'm not going to say too much. Christelle, I'm going to give it to you. Let us in. Who are you and what are the amazing things you've been doing in the world?
Well, thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Mutia. I really, really appreciate that opportunity. So I'm Christelle, and I call myself a self-leadership awakener. And that's because I'm all about awakening the leadership of ourselves that we all have within us, but that's been pushed down by life, for most of us at least. And I'm also the founder of Pistachio Cassis Coaching. And my mission is to work with professional women in mid-level management who just want a better life, a better career, but we need help to get going because they don't know how to start, they feel stuck. They may even wonder whether they're on the wrong path, actually. And I help them to start taking action. And those are action designed by them, for them, toward their goal, and to get them into the driver's seat of their life in a way that fits with their schedule. And that's something I came up with through my own life experience. And I summarize my life experience, or I present myself as an eclectic, non-conforming introvert. And that's because when I was a child, I dreamt of having a life with lots of diverse experiences. You know, we're a child, we have dreams. But I had no idea how. I don't come from a family who is connected. Then when I became an adult, I had a reality check, put the dreams away, and look at, well, I need to be financially independent, but I still want to enjoy my work, my life overall. So I decided to go into the construction industry. And I know you're probably wondering, how did I become a coach from that? And through the construction industry, I actually understood the importance of opportunities, of being different rather than being better than others, and of staying, what I call staying myself. And that's really allowed me to get the international experience that I've had in the construction industry, so in Europe and then in Canada. It's given me the opportunity to have a whole range of roles and to work on a very broad range of construction and engineering projects and to work with multicultural teams. But it also created what I called internal tensions within me between having to adapt to the group of people I was working with while still staying myself enough so I wasn't disappearing. I think that's the best way to explain it. So after a while, after about, I would say 20 years, it got to a time where I knew I had to make a bigger change. Staying in the industry wasn't enough anymore. I just needed something different. But then came up the big question, but to do what? And I'm sure I'm not the only one asking that question. So I went on what I called an exploration journey, and that's where I discovered coaching. And when I say coaching, I mean the technique that is about empowering people to empower themselves. Or I prefer to present it as a professional and personal development technique that is all about the client, but where the client is not left on their own with their thoughts going around in circle in their head. So I decided to become a coach. And maybe I'll stop here so that we can, I'm sure I have more opportunities to explain how I developed as a coach later on in this podcast.
Definitely, definitely. I was just loving, your story. And there are so many things you've actually said that make me become so inquisitive right now. I've got so many questions for you because already you are empowering everybody listening to this. But I'm not going to start from there. I'm going to go back a bit and then just say something that is really, really smashing, about when you sent in your notes on this, and it's about helping people to understand, which was one of the things you were going to talk about there anyway, that not leaving the clients on their own. And just as you've said, we all have dreams when we were younger, as we grow, as we continue to grow, we have great dreams. But the problem is, for most people, they want to be X, Y, Z, but they just don't know who they want to be for real. We have
Yes.
these dreams, we want this, we want that, but they really don't know exactly who they want to be. As in,
Yeah.
when I ask some people, who are you? Who do you want to be? Who is the core you? They don't know. And that, I guess, is one of the problems you're helping people to solve. So I ask you, how can we help more people to know exactly who they want to be? How can we not leave them hanging, saying we're coaching them, but still we're leaving them hanging, be on their own, not able to figure out who they really want to be? How can we do that, please?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. And I'll go from there, I'll go to a metaphor I like to use between, I see a bridge basically between the real world of professional people, you have to work hard, you have a life, you're busy, and the coaching world. So I see that bridge, and I see that bridge as being very accessible for senior executive. There's, we all know, I think, about coaching for senior executive, it's there. But not so much for the people below, certainly. Some companies, yes, but a lot of others, it's just not there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really that accessibility that I'm working on. Because maybe I'll go back a little bit to your question. Who do we want to be? It's such a big question. If we know it, it's so far away, it's so big, it's so scary to even think, how am I going to get there? And the changes it will have on our life. And for a lot of other people, it's just a big question mark. And coaching is really that technique to help progress toward that. But the big question is, what is coaching? How do we introduce coaching? And that's where I go back to my metaphor of the bridge. How do we make that bridge more accessible? And that's really where I've decided to go into. So one of the things I'm doing to make it more accessible is, well, there's different pillars. So I don't know if you want to talk about each pillar, if you want me to talk about each pillar now, or if you want to ask me a question about it, I'll let you guide the conversation here.
Yes, that is wonderful. I mean, you making it really accessible to people so that they can actually have access. Just like one of my mentors used to say, or would say to me, I think everybody, every individual in the world deserved to be properly coached, to get to the core of who they are so that they can make the most of who they are. Yeah, I'd like you to share, a few of the fundamentals of the core steps of the transformation that you help people go through so that they can know, who they really want to be. How do they begin? Yes.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm really at that accessibility stage at the beginning for now, and I will evolve my services too along the way. But those pillars at the beginning, I see one of the pillar is making coaching more mainstream so that it's not just an elitist practice. The other pillar is the relatability with the coach, that connection. And I'll go in each pillar into in a bit more detail after. The third pillar that I see is the time, energy, and financial investment into it. And the final one is really what I said before, instead of looking at the end of that big goal, who do I want to be, to start taking action. So if I go back to the first pillar, making it more mainstream, it's that accessibility. How do we bring it to everyone? And it's easy. I mean, most coaches will speak, will write for free, so that's accessible. But really, the best way to explain what coaching is for someone to go through an experience of coaching. That's really when they understand. That's what I found in my own experience. That's when people understand what coaching is and what impact it can have on them. So one thing I'm doing what I call live coaching infused conversations on most Fridays, and that's a free conversation around a topic I select, of course, because it's a group, but it's bringing that, making it mainstream, bringing it, showing them what it is, so that they can get a bit of a sample of it before paying for anything. So they've got that introduction, that sample. If I continue with the sample and maybe going to the food analogy of, when we try food in a store, you get a little bit, and it's enough to know you want to know more about it or you don't like it at all. That's what the free coaching infused conversation for me is. Then you get the opportunity to buy a little pack of that specific food. So you can try it out, really figure it out if you like it or not. And that's one of the service I offer. It's that introduction to coaching, introduction to the food, so you can try it out and assess whether you like it or not. And then you can buy the big pack, and you get a longer coaching service. So that's really the making it more mainstream pillar. The next pillar about the relatability. It's a hard word to pronounce. I know when I was looking for a coach myself, as a woman in construction, I really wanted somebody who had kind of similar experience to me. So working in a male-dominated environment, it's very different to other environment, and it was hard to find that. So I think it's a great thing now that so many coaches come from different backgrounds, and that's where my, I guess, specialty is that hardworking, busy professional woman in mid-level management, because I've been there, and therefore it's easier for me to relate to my client and for my client to relate to me. So that's the relatability pillar. The next pillar is about the time, energy, and cost investment. And that's a big impact. Not everybody is ready to invest a lot of money or in a lot of their time in something they don't really know. So that's where I'm getting again to that introduction to coaching package, which is, let's get you a little bit. You try it out for a few weeks of my package, which I call the coffee break coaching experience. It's a series of 4 sessions of 20 minutes over 4 weeks. 20 minutes is the duration of a coffee break. And it's enough for the person to really experience what coaching is, to realize that they can find solution on their own, and to realize, to get a little bit more clarity of who they want to be or what they want to do. So it's an introduction, then they can decide whether they want to do more or stop it or just keep going like this. And the final one, and I'm sorry, I have a big gap, right? What did I say the final one was?
Yeah, you talked about relatability, the time and energy, and who do I want to be? That's the final one.
And the last goal, sorry, it's coming back now. It's we're so used to talk about, who do you want to be, that big goal at the end, and that can be so scary. The changes you have to make, the impact on the people around you. So why not start with, let's just get you to start taking action. Take some small step at the beginning. See what it is like to get out of your comfort zone, to get used to do those little action on a regular basis. So that's where am I. That's how I provide that accessibility to the bridge to coaching. And it's getting, on one side, it's an introduction to coaching, and on the other side, it's getting people to start taking action, to start realizing that they have solution within them. They can find their own solution. They don't need to be told all the time what to do. but we have to start with the beginning, and then we can evolve with something more longer term.
That is, that is so fantastic. The way you broke everything down and, the passion to want to get coaching across to everybody. This is a great, great service. You're trying to push forward. And it makes me feel like, how can I, well, which is part of the other things that I do, how can I get people to understand, the real impacts that coaching can have in our lives? I'm not just going to take your time, but before I started my podcast or my coaching, I was a very voiceless broadcaster. Today I look back and I'll say I was a waste in the broadcast industry. I was good at what I did. My supervisor, like the big managers, the directors, they really loved me when we had meetings. They'll say, "Oh, Mitya, Tokwe was my best broadcaster because I could read, I could do this." But outside the cubicle, outside the studio, I was just so useless. I wasn't communicating with people. I was a shy girl. I was just not making the most of my talents there. I look back and I was like, I didn't get my voice until I got coaching. So when I started coaching, ladies in corporate organizations in the third sector and allowing them to actually see the potential within them, that really fueled me and made me feel like, wow, if I can do this to other people, I probably missed a lot because I didn't get anyone to coach me.
Yes.
When I
I
was
so agree with that. Yes.
so I really resonate with what you're saying. I mean, as I said, and what my mentor said, everybody deserves to be coached, to have a great coach, to help them make the most of, who they are, who they can be, who they will be. So yeah. So fantastic. I really, really resonate with that. So I'd like to, we talk about things like the things that make you come together, really, as in that puts you together as an individual in terms of personal development, the things we need to get ourselves to start to do. Maybe have a routine, have a regular practice to do something, or self-discipline, or what can you say people can start to help themselves to get towards achieving their goals in life? What are the basic fundamental things that you think people can start to do now, with or without coaching? And sometimes the practices that will allow them, even when they get coaching, the practices that will allow them to make the most of this coaching. What can we do as individuals to help ourselves towards the goals that we want to achieve?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, Mucha. And there is a lot. And personally, I think it depends on the people. It's something that is very dear to my heart. It depends on people. We are all unique, so we do things differently, and we have different things that resonate with us. And I think it's very important because to acknowledge that whatever I say today may not resonate with everyone, and that is fine. And it's a role of each person to figure out what resonates with them. Nobody can do it for them. And I think, yeah, you mentioned coaching, with and without coaching, but you don't have to have a coach to get into the coaching mindset, really. I mean, there's so much available, books, article, podcasts, speaking. There's a lot available to make you ask yourself questions. And there's an exercise I really like. I discovered it through coaching. Well, I discovered the name through coaching. I was actually doing it before without knowing the name. And it's looking at what do I want in my life? What are the key things that are important in my life? Yes, there's the one you have to do, but there's also the one you just want, that interests you, that motivate you, that you're passionate about. And looking at what do you want for each of those, and where are you now, and how can you progress? I love that exercise. It's called the Wheel of Life in coaching. But it's really looking at, in a way, it's looking at who you are and who you want to be. But you do it without the pressure of having to give an answer or having to give yourself a title or whatever. Is just description. Maybe they stay in your head, maybe you put them in writing. And it's really, at the end, it's about reflection. It's about spending some time with yourself and looking at what do you feel, what attracts you, what going back to your childhood, what did you like in your childhood? Again, that's another coaching exercise that you can do outside of the coaching environment. What did you like as a child? I was dreaming of adventure, basically. So that was a big term. I wouldn't say I've had adventure, but I have moved around. I managed to get what I wanted as a child, even though that wasn't the plan when I was decided to go into the construction industry. I had no idea I would be able to make that happen. But the dream was still there. And when you see opportunities, the dreams come back and you catch those opportunities. At the end, the one thing that people can do is sit down with themselves and reflect. If they have friends that are able to listen without giving their opinion, that is great to have this reflection with them too. But I would say it's having reflection without the opinion of other people first, so that you can get to who you are. That would be the first step to do before doing anything, before deciding which career you want, deciding what it is you want to study, what job you want to learn, what side activities you want to do. It's reflecting on yourself, so it is from you rather than what you see other people do and do like them.
Oh, lovely. That is so, I just feel that so much, when you say, when people can sit down, sit with yourself, like
Yeah.
sit really in yourself and reflect without the opinions of other people. That's where
Yeah.
you get the real answers for what you want to do, who you want to do, who you want to be. Do you know how you just want to move your life forward? I mean, that is so rich. I love that because I know the impacts of that. And I just feel like, given the force of coaching to everybody. Goodness, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, if I may just add up a little, it's really the first step, that self-reflection. But it gets to a point where staying with that step may be slightly dangerous, because we get to the stage that I call, we get our thoughts going in circle in our head and they have nowhere to get out to. And really that's where coaching is the next step, where you're able to get those thoughts out, but they're still yours. They are not affected by the person you're speaking to.
Exactly. I mean, that's just about getting in control of those thoughts and what you want to do with them and the outcomes you're deciding on them, and having the audacity to know who to share those with so that you can make the most of those. So fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And there was something else you said when you started. I mean, but I just wrote it down because I want you to expand on it. You said something about how us as individuals and, your core audience, I guess you were talking about how, corporate leaders, people within the middle management levels can stay different rather than be wanting to be better, something along those lines. How would staying different, empower us as individuals?
Yeah, so that's been in my own experience. So in the coaching industry, when I was still studying, so I don't think we said it, but I'm French, so I started my studies in France. And I had the opportunity to go and carry on those studies in the UK. That was before Brexit, so there was a European plan, there was access there, and I took that opportunity because that's where I discovered see opportunities and take them. Diverse experience, going abroad, that's a diverse experience. I get ease of access there, let's take it. Now, what happened at the time, I know it's hard to believe now, but my English was very, very basic. it was difficult for me to communicate in English, but I still took that opportunity. So got to the UK, became bilingual, discovered project management there that did not exist in France at the time. So when I came back to France, I was different. I wasn't better than the others. I'm not a top scholar, I'm more like in the middle range, but I was different. I was bilingual. I had lived abroad already. So it gave me access to job. And basically I ended up having a job in an English company in France. But being different to everybody else gave me access to different positions. And that was really my first experience with being different. And then that's when I realized, that's when I valued that. It's easier, and I guess it's a personal issue too, but I found that it was easier to be different than trying to be better than everybody else, because that is hard.
Exactly. And indeed, it's not productive wanting to be better. It's rather more productive and more rewarding wanting to be different, because in our uniqueness lives the celebration within us. We can only celebrate and share with other people what makes us different, what
Yeah.
makes us unique.
And
I
so,
mean, that is the gift that we give the world. So
yeah,
thank
and
you
that's
so much
something
for bringing that to the fore.
Yeah, I discovered it on my own and along my career, but I'm sure with coaching, it would have been highlighted. It would have been highlighted on one way, in one way, but in the other, I think it would have helped me a lot deal with those internal tension I had of you have to adapt to the people you work with. You know, we're a society, we're a group, but adapting enough and still be myself enough, that was at tension. And I think coaching would have been, I would have loved to have coaching then if I knew what coaching was. I didn't know, I'm not sure it existed in my circle, but it would have helped me deal with that tension and all the discomfort that comes out of it.
Exactly. Just the same way here. I said to myself, if I had had coaching those years of my broadcasting, I probably would have made the most of it, very, very much than having to just slide out of it because, of different things. And
Yeah.
particularly, I just didn't feel I was giving my best to it. So yeah, coaching has its potential to help everybody, to make the most of who they can be and who they are really. So yeah. And then you said something regarding, making coaching being something allowing individuals to empower themselves.
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
It's I think that was at the heart of my struggles through my life. Realizing that I wanted something, but it wasn't what was expected from society in general, so having to fit in. And so empowering somebody is giving them the power over themselves to empower themselves to go for what they want. So to better understand who they are, to better understand who they want to be, what they want to do, and to other realize that it's not about doing whatever it takes to get there. It's about doing what's aligned with your value based on your circumstances. We all live in different circumstances. If you have a family member that needs to be looked after, then it makes it a lot harder for you and travel the world, for example. And you have to deal with that circumstance based on your own values. It doesn't mean you're not going for what you want. You're adapting to your situation. And I think that's where the empower people to empower themselves that's the attraction for me. It's giving the power back to the person when we are so used to have other people having power over us. I'm just trying to use the word power. It comes in so many different times in my sentences. But we have power over ourselves, but we need to take that power and use it. And yes, it depends on our circumstances and it depends on our key values, you know, and different people will deal differently, even though they want the same thing.
And that is power packed. I can tell you that because, it is something a lot of people find so hard
Yes.
to divulge themselves from. People believe if they've got goals and if they kind of think that I am showing enthusiasm, I am showing the willpower, I am showing that I'm a go-getter, I can get it. Whatever it takes, I'm going to give it. But what you've just said just broke that, ice. It's not about whatever it takes, because whatever it takes could be very harmful for you, for the
Yes.
people around you, even for your values. It's what aligns with your values.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
is
So
that is full of power, because a lot of people
I think
don't
it
know what their
is.
values are. And
Yeah.
that breaks them rather than make them, but they don't know.
There's that not knowing our values, and then you have the strengths and all that different terminology. But having a goal is one thing, getting there is another, and not everybody will get there in the same way. And the there may not be the actual specific goal that we had in mind. It might be slightly off course because there's circumstances yet, but there's also opportunities. When we, if we look at life as a journey, and sometimes you want to take a side road because it looks nice over there. What is it? I want to check it out. And sometimes you check it out, you don't like it, you come back to your main path, or you like it and you say, well, I think that's my new direction now. So it's like life. It's never fully defined. It's full of changes, and it's very individual. And I think we have to maybe value that individual side more. We're not all the same. We don't do things in the same way, and we shouldn't look at what somebody else does and do the same thing than them, because it may work for them, it may not work for you, and it may not even be what you want, actually.
Exactly. Wow, you have given so many great insights here as to
Thank you.
why people should face it and take on coaching to empower themselves, to align their realities and their values, to identify for real who they are, who they want to be, define their parts. Said so many things, and I'm really grateful for your insights. I could speak with you all day because you've got great stuff coming, from you. But I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'll just like you, just to give that person, that individual, that female, manager, senior manager, that male manager, that individual, who is thinking or trying to decide, is coaching for me? Is it going to help me? What am I going to get from it? From the things you've spoken about, wanting to make coaching accessible, what one word would you speak maybe to the director there? Should I hire a coach for my employees? What one word would you say to them? Organization, the individual, what one word would you say to them about embracing coaching and how that can be, the entire change for the story of their business, their organization, or their individual lives, how that can positively impact them? What would you say?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And I go back to the food analogy. Try the sample. Start with the sample. If you want to know more, then try a small pack of food, of that specific food, which would be, what I call my coffee break coaching, but really an introduction to coaching package. You can understand what it is and what it does for you. Then if you like it, you can go for the mega pack for the long-term coaching. But it's like food. Try with a sample, a free sample. There's plenty available around there. But as a person, you need to look for those samples and you need to look for the one that attracts you. They're all different. Like food, there's too much choice maybe, but you have to look for a few you want to try out and then keep going there.
Lovely, lovely. That is good. That is really, fantastic what you said. And another important point that you mentioned is people looking for that relatability. Does the coach, do we have some resonance in terms of our stories, in terms of our paths, our journeys, and that sort of thing? I think that again will be something that makes the coaching experience more more wonderful, more
Yeah.
succinct, and then, just really, really put together as in really concise, amazing, wonderful, and value-based. Yes, relatability is
And
something to look
yeah.
out for in coaching as well. Yeah.
If I can add quickly, it does mean that the person, the client, has to look for those coaches. Unfortunately, there isn't yet, I don't know, a directory of coaches with their background, and you could just, do filters and okay, there's 5 here. And that, as far as I know, that doesn't exist. So clients have to look around, have to do the trial and error thing, and it's not easy, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can understand. I mean, obviously there are directories of coaches, but the thing is we cannot have a universal one where clients can actually find, every type of coaches, every type of individual. There's a coach that's been in this background. We wouldn't have a universal directory. So
Not
definitely
yet.
to that extent, exactly to that extent, clients still need to look here and there and, pick and choose and, just try to go around to see. Well, here you are. Anyway, if you're listening to this, yes, and you think that Christelle, resonates with the things you want to achieve, why not get in touch with her? And she will be
Exactly.
able to help you, get to the nitty-gritty of who you want to be, how you
Yeah.
want to turn out, what the goals are that you want to achieve, and ultimately making the most of your full potential. Christelle, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm really, really pleased to have you here. And on that note, we have come to the end of the Ignite Your Leadership Prowess podcast. I'm Beauty Tadewale, your host as usual. And until I see you again, just keep being the best of who you are. And bye for now.